نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ومن آياته خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف ألسنتكم وألوانكم إن في ذلك لآيات للعالمين. ومن آياته منامكم بالليل والنهار وابتغاؤكم من فضله إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يسمعون. ومن آياته يريكم البرق خوفا وطمعا وينزل من السماء ماء فيحيي به الأرض بعد موتها إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يعقلون. ومن آياته أن تقوم السماء والأرض بأمره ثم إذا دعاكم دعوة من الأرض إذا أنتم تخرجون وله من في السماوات والأرض كل له قانتون وهو الذي يبدأ الخلق ثم يعيده وهو أهون عليه وله المثل الأعلى في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم. Respectful elder friends, in the verses that have been recited, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues with making mention of some of his ayat. And we had begun this ruku in last week's tafsir, wherein two ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala signs were mentioned. And these ayat are those that demonstrate the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and which prove the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions these in various places of the Qur'an just to remind us that these are those qudrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, greatnesses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which have always been around us, which exist, but we take for granted. And this is something that we also adopt. That when certain things are taken for granted, then they need to be mentioned. There will be those things that you expect people will be aware of, would be accepting of. But then a person becomes neglectful of these things, so it needs to be reminded to us. So these various ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exist around us. There may be those things that we are aware of, which yes, we comprehend and we understand or we click on to. That these are also from the qudrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But there may be, not maybe, but there are so many other qudrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which we overlook. Our minds may not go towards it until it is mentioned to us. In last week's tafsir, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had mentioned that وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَكُم مِّن تُرَابٍ ثُمَّ إِذَا أَنْتُمْ بَشَرٌ تَنْتَشِرُونَ. That amongst his ayat is that he has created you from sand, after which you became humans spread out on earth. وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا. Amongst his ayat is that he created spouses for you from yourselves. لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا, so that you may find peace with her. وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً, and he has placed love and mercy between you. إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. There are certainly ayat in this for those who contemplate. The tafsir of this was completed last week, and the tafsir of this is available on the various online platforms as well. And we had just done these two verses because of the mention of nikah and how great this is in the form of the bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Further, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ خَلْقُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَاخْتِلَافُ أَلْسِنَتِكُمْ وَأَلْوَانِكُمْ إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِلْعَالِمِينَ. That وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ, that amongst his ayat is خَلْقُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ, the creation of the heavens and the earth, and وَاخْتِلَافُ أَلْسِنَتِكُمْ وَأَلْوَانِكُمْ, and the variation of your languages and colors. So the first is Allah Ta'ala mentions خَلْقُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ, the creation of the heavens and the earth. So this is how the heavens and the earth has been created. And Allah Ta'ala here has just mentioned خَلْقُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ, other places in the Qur'an. Allah Ta'ala gives us more examples of the earth and as well as the heavens. So these are from the great creations of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. The samawat has so many signs in it. The earth has so many in it itself. But these are those things that we look at the skies, but we do not think, and it doesn't remind us of the qudrat of Allah Ta'ala, the power of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. The earth as well. That's how Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has created the earth, where it is in the atmosphere, in a manner in which it is held. And we do not find any strings, any poles, anything attached to it, holding it at all. This is great qudrat of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. The sky as well, other things may fall on us, roofs may fall in, but the sky doesn't fall anywhere at all. And never do we have any news flash, and news that a piece of the sky has fallen or so. And there is nothing there holding it that we can see that is holding it. The stars, the sun, the moon, all these things. That itself is a galaxy, itself is a great qudrat and power of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Further, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala mentions وَاخْتِلَافُ أَلْسِنَتِكُمْ وَأَلْوَانِكُمْ. Two things Allah Ta'ala mentions here. One is أَلْسِنَتِكُمْ, language, and the other is alwan, the alwanikum, meaning the colors. That's how Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala created insan from Adam alayhi salatu wasalam and Sayyidina Hawa. So the source is the one. But from that too, all the creation of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, meaning human beings, Allah Ta'ala has created them in different languages. Lisan means tongue, and here it refers towards languages. That throughout the world, every country has its own language. To the extent that even those countries wherein English may be their original language, even there will be a bit of difference. Otherwise, every single country will have their own language. So just imagine the amount of countries there are, that's the amount of languages that exist as it is. And then those where English is the same, for example, in the United Kingdom we speak English. The United States speak English as well. But there will be differences of pronunciation and words as well. So there is a difference there. American English compared to British English. This is the qudrat of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. That how Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has created so many different languages, different formation of words, the huruf, the letters are so different to one another as well. This is the qudrat of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. There's so many people throughout the world, they're all human beings. Not that there's another species, all human beings, but they all speak different languages, and they've mastered so many different languages. And then there'll be those who Allah Ta'ala has given them that qudrat, that they are able to speak multiple languages without getting confused at all. This is again the qudrat of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, that how Allah Ta'ala is who created so many different languages. So just imagine, this one language itself has so many words related to it. So just imagine all the languages, how much vocab there is. All of these have been created by Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. And then the other unique thing of al-lisan is that everybody's language is different, but at the same time everybody's speech is different as well. Everybody's speech is different. Now never mind the entire world, just take one family for example. In that one family itself, where you have the husband and wife, who are now the mother and father, and they have their 3, 4, 5 children. All those children have come from the same parents, but the father's voice is different, the mother's voice is different, and all 5 children, their voices will be different as well. If there is similarity, there might be some slight similarity there, but the voices are totally different. They're just in one household. So they've all come, all are human beings. That's why if you look at robots, when they create robots, the speech with assembly, you know that this is the robot that is speaking. Not personally speaking, but it is programmed to speak. So you know that this is what, it is a robot that is speaking. You have various messages and then you know that look, this is a robot, it is a computer that speaks. Why? Because the language is very similar, the tone is very similar. But look at insan, look at human beings. That every person has their own style of speaking, method of speaking, tone of speaking, level of sound, everything is so different from one another. So in a room you have X amount of people. This one family for instance, the 5 children, their voices will be totally different to one another. The voice of a female is different to that of a male. And then from the females, theirs is different. From males is different. Then you have those who will have softer voices, those who have harder, harsher voices, rough voices. Some have a low pitch, some have a high pitch. This is what, whereas the structure of the mouth, the vocal cords, all of this is exactly the same. Each person has been created with the same, meaning the formation of every person's mouth and the vocal system that Allah has created is exactly the same. But the sound that comes out is totally different. The voice that comes is so different. So just imagine the amount of creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's how many different voices that Allah ta'ala has created as well. This is the Qur'an of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then you have a baby. When it is a baby, the language is different, and the sound is different as well. And then the child grows up, its voice changes, it continues to change. And then you have somebody who is in old age. So when somebody is in old age, the voice is different as well. And somebody who may be away from you, and they're speaking to you on the phone, you cannot be for sure, but there'll be ways wherein there'll be times when you may understand that, look, this seems to be an elderly person because of the voice, frailness or weakness of the voice. So the same person who was born with a different type of a voice, same throat and everything, tongue and everything, different voice, develops, different, and it continues. And then the old age as well. Not that you're born with one way of speaking, I mean the voice and that remains with you right till the end, it changes. So even one person has so much change within their voice as well. And this is something that changes. Not every person may realize this. But if a person's voice is recorded somewhere, and then you listen to it, you will understand this. You will understand this. Like if you go back to the tafsir of Surah Baqarah, and then you listen to the voice then, you will understand that, look, there is a younger voice. There is a younger voice compared to 18 years on. So already in a person's lifestyle, like that yourself you may not realize that your voice has changed, but now if you have it recorded somewhere in a speech or so, then you listen to that, that's when you will understand. So a person in their lifespan itself, their voice changes so many times. So just imagine the different levels of voices that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created all over the world. Every person's different dialect, different form. And then you have United Kingdom itself. The language is English. But the different districts, counties, there too they'll speak, but they speak the same language but speak in different dialect. So one language itself will have so many different accents and dialects as well. Yes, there may be those who speak English, but you might think they're not speaking English. Some accents are like that as well. This is the qudrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But maybe we do not contemplate over this. The month of Ramadan dawning upon us, you'll have 3, 4, 5 Hafizul Qur'an. Each one reciting a total different voice, different melody, different way, high pitch, low pitch. This is what the Qur'an of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now just imagine if everybody's voice was exactly the same. Then Tarawih would be a little same, isn't it? There won't be any change in that. And also it will be difficult to recognize people as well. Whoever calls you will have to say who they are. Otherwise you won't recognize that, look who this robot is. Everybody will be, it's the same universal voice. It will be so difficult. So just by the moment that a person starts speaking, you understand that, look, this is who is speaking. So that is one great qudrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the other is alwanikum, and your colors. And again here, despite the fact that all have come from Sayyidina Adam and Sayyidina Hawa, but throughout the world, everybody's complexion and everybody's color is totally different to one another. And forget different parts of the world. Again, just that one family, that one husband and wife, mother and father, and they have their 5 children. And all 5 will have different complexion as well. All 5 will have different complexion with regard to variance of darkness and light and that. To that extent that there will be some children where in a family, you might have one child that is very fair, and in the same family, the one child is on the darker side as well. This is what the qudrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the great qudrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The color of the eyes may be different from one of the two. The hair color may be different. And we had some time back, one family, 2 brothers, total opposite, black and white. That's the difference that was there. Total difference. One is a level of sort of fairness or darkness or so. This is total opposite. One was very fair and one was very dark in complexion. And same family, same mother and father, no difference there. But totally different in their color. This is Allah Ta'ala mentions the qudrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created everybody so differently. And as I mentioned last week as well, that how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us as human beings. But every person, their structure as well is so different. We all have the same pair of eyes, we all have a nose, we have a mouth, we have ears, we have hands. So everybody has these things. But that too, everybody is different. It's not a case of everybody's hands are the same. Something else is manufactured, each one is the same. One table, the same type of table, you have 5 different ones, you might have different colors, but it's exactly the same. Exactly the same. But here how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created within the family itself, where maybe the nose, the size of the nose will vary from every person. So it's not a case of standard one design nose. The whole ummah has had, every person, every creation, every human being has the same style of nose, the eyebrows are different, the eyes are different, the color, complexion is different, foreheads are so different as well, hair is so different as well, eyes, ears, everything. That is how different Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created each and every single person. Again, in the different complexions, and within the complexion, there is so many different complexions within that itself. These are all what? The great qudrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But these are those things that we do not take into consideration. We meet somebody maybe from another part of the world who look a little different, but we then see as well that look, they are human beings, we are human beings. But look at how different Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created their complexion and that design, we say, as to our design. But we're still human beings. So this is the great qudrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why Allah ta'ala mentions, Inna fi dhalika la'ayatin lil'alimin. There are certainly ayat in this for who? For those who have knowledge. And by knowledge meaning those who think. That those who contemplate and think about these great qudrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then they will notice these type of things. And by noticing these type of things, they will do, it will remind them of the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It will draw them close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when they see these qudrats of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, contemplate over these things. Further Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ مَنَامُكُمْ بِاللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ وَابْتِغَاؤُكُمْ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَسْمَعُونَ. And also amongst his signs are manamukum bil-layli wan-nahar, is your sleep by night and by day, and wabtigha'ukum min fadli, and you're seeking from his bounty. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions here that from his signs are that how Allah ta'ala has created it, that manamukum, you're sleeping, bil-layli wan-nahar, by day and by night and by day. Why Allah ta'ala mentioned this is, in the past we have done with regards to the night, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created the night, Sarmadan, has created the night or where a person sleeps and has tranquility in it. But because it is not necessary that every person is going to be sleeping during the night, there will be those who have to work during the night, so they will sleep during the day. So for that reason Allah Ta'ala mentions both. Manamukum bil-layli wan-nahar. That for some their rest is in the night, and for those their rest is during the day. From the two we did the various ayat which referring towards the Qur'an of Allah Ta'ala with regards to sleeping during the night. That how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes the night specifically calm for us. It becomes dark, it becomes quiet, so that it becomes easy for a person to sleep during the night. But yes, there will be those who need to sleep during the day as well. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made that possible as well, that our bodies are able to adapt accordingly. If it was a matter of those who had night shift, could not, or the body could not sleep during the day, then those who had night shift, they would be struggling, they wouldn't get any sleep whatsoever. But Allah Ta'ala has made it such that no, they are able to sleep during the day as well, and they will get rest during the day. It may be disturbed, it may not be as tranquil as that during the night, but at least the body has been made such that it is able to sleep during the day as well. And the whole purpose of this manamukum bil-layli wan-nahar, sleeping during the day and the night, is that a person sleeps in such a manner that you totally oblivious of everything around you. Person sleeps tired and wakens up in a manner in which they are refreshed. This is the Qur'an of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the fact that how the body switches off, that a person becomes unaware of what is happening around. If a person was just as alert while they awake, a person would not be able to sleep whatsoever. They would not be able to sleep whatsoever. But how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shuts the body off, that we are able to, there will be things going around. Yes, different people sleep in a different manner. There are those who get disturbed easily, but there are those who, they may be in Ukraine as well and they'll be fast asleep. Means there might be bombs around. There might be all sorts of noise happening around, but they sleep through that as well. There is heat, cold, makes no difference to them. Fear makes no difference to them. No matter what condition that their sleep is such that they fall off to sleep and do not know what is happening around. And this is also from the Qudrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Although you don't want to be sleeping in such a manner that you don't know what's happening, things are falling apart around you and buildings are coming down, you're still unaware of what's happening. But a person sleeps in such a manner, and sleep itself is the great bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are those who cannot sleep during the night. No matter how much they try, they'll slaughter all the sheep possible. They've run out of sheep now to count. So they still can't sleep. They take in sleeping tablets. So sleeping tablets which is there to put you to sleep, and that doesn't work as well. I mean, there are those who take sleeping tablets and they're still going back to the doctor to look, they're not happy, give me a higher dosage. Prescribe something else to me. So those tablets do not even work for an individual. They cannot sleep. Comfortable bed as well. And there are those who, nothing at all. They're in the streets and they are able to sleep. And there are those who are daytime as well in the streets, heat, cold, and they are able to sleep. And then there will be those who have all the luxury and comfort, AC when it is warm, heating when it is cold, and they have the duvets, light, cold, heavy, whichever is needed for the time. They have the comfortable beds as well, massaging beds as well. All the things that is around to bring comfort to an individual, but they can't sleep. They can't sleep at all. And as I mentioned, there are those who put their heads anywhere on a footpath and they fall off to sleep. These are great gamut and bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And those who can't sleep, ask them, they'll then say, look, this is what they are suffering from. And they'll wish how much they were able to sleep. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that this manamukum bil layli wan nahar. This is also from the ayahs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And wabtigha'ukum min fadli. And you're seeking from His bounty, meaning earning your livelihood. In what? Layl and nahar. Allah ta'ala mentions layl and nahar for that as well. That just the way there are those who earn and seek a livelihood during the day, there will be those who seek their livelihood during the night as well. The norm is during the day, as in certain ayahs that is exclusive there. But here Allah Ta'ala combines both, because there are those who do night shift. There are those who need to work during the night. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has kept the day for them for rest and night for them to earn. For others, the night for them to rest and the day for them to earn. And this وَابْتِغَاؤُكُم مِّن فَضْلِ, seeking as well a livelihood, min fadli, from His bounty. This is also a great bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. An ayat of Allah ta'ala, a sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And how? That you'll have two individuals who have exactly the same qualifications, the same expertise as well. And they may be in the same line of business as well, or same line of work. But it's not necessary both are going to be equally successful. One may be in a work, the other is not in work. One may be successful, the other isn't successful. One has gained more experience, promotion, and climbed the ladders of success, where the other hasn't. And not only that, but you'll even find those people who may not have such qualifications and education, but they are in a work wherein they are earning a decent living. And that person who has a good background, educational background behind them, and they are still looking for work. Or they may be in a work wherein they may not be acquiring or earning as much as somebody else who is not as qualified. These are all what? From the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when it comes to seeking livelihood, Allah Ta'ala mentions min fadlihi. Just way in Surah Jum'ah as well, وَابْتَغُوا مِن فَضْلِ اللَّهِ. Allah Ta'ala mentions فَإِذَا قُضِيَتِ الصَّلَاةُ فَانْتَشِرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَابْتَغُوا مِن فَضْلِ اللَّهِ. That after the Salah of Jum'ah, disperse on earth and seek from what? The grace of Allah Ta'ala. And here to Allah Ta'ala says, and you are seeking from His grace, min fadli, His bounty. Which shows that the rizq, rozi, earning livelihood it is from the bounty of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. And it is not from your degrees, your qualifications, your educational background. No, that is not necessary. That is where it is going to come from. At the end of the day, min fadlihi, it only comes from the bounty of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Meaning that at the end of the day, if your medical certificate, your medical qualification has granted you a livelihood, that has been through the grace of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. And not because of your medical certification. That is just a means of putting you in that post, in that position of that level of earning. But again, as I mentioned, if it wasn't for the grace of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, you wouldn't be there in that position after all. So it is always the grace of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, and one should always remember that. Because how Allah Subhanahu wants, anytime Allah Ta'ala can change matters. The last 2 years people have seen how work-wise and how livelihoods have changed. Those who are high earnings became low earnings, people were on furlough and people became redundant, were made redundant. So you can have a job today and you can be out of a job tomorrow. This is all from the grace of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Inna fi dhalika la ayatin liqawmi yasma'un. Indeed, in this is a sign for those who listen. Here Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala mentions liqawmi yasma'un, those who listen. Why? Because there are those type of things which we can see. The difference in language, in color, and that these things we can see. With regards to those things, the grace of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala upon the individual, the various other bounties of being able to sleep at night and not being able to sleep for some. These things are those things that we may not be able to see, every person, but these are things that we are able to become aware of, and one form of awareness is by hearing about these things. That's why here Allah Ta'ala mentions, yasma'un, that those who listen with the intention of taking heed with regard to these are the things that do exist as well. That not every person, there will be those who will say, look, from my experience, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted me a job. So it is something that we have not seen in every person. But when somebody will tell you, that's when you, if you listen to it and you realize that, yes, for sure, how Allah Ta'ala gave this person prosperity, and the other person was more qualified or equally qualified. That wasn't the case with them. This is all from the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ يُرِيكُمُ الْبَرْقَ خَوْفًا وَطَمَعًا وَيُنَزِّلُ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً فَيُحْيِي بِهِ الْأَرْضَ بَعْدَ مَوْتِهَا إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَعْقِلُونَ. Here further Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, and also from his ayat is how Yurikumul Barqa, he shows you lightning, which does what? Khawfan wa tama'a, which kindles fear, and wa tama'a, and hope. So Allah Ta'ala says that how? Lightning, for example. The lightning brings with it two different feelings for a person. One is that when there's lightning, it creates fear that you'll be struck by lightning. But at the same time, it brings tama'a as well, it brings hope. Hope of what? Hope of rainfall. So there are those clouds, which are rain-bearing clouds. So when those thunder, you know that it's going to rain. Now here, because the climate is such that it rains often. It rains often. So we may not regard this to be such a great bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But in those countries where there is drought, or those countries where it is very hot, there they wait for the rain. So they want it to rain and they just wait, they look at the clouds, and where they see the clouds are dark, they become hopeful that look, these are those clouds that are going to bear rain upon us. Hence when a person now, that's what the difference between the khawf and tama also refers to was internal and external. That if a person is external, the traveling for instance, or the outside, and when it does thunder, that's when it becomes fearful for them that they do not want to be struck by it. And for that person who is within the home, for them the thunder is not fearful for them because they know they are secure inside. For them is watama'a, it is a form of hope for them that look, we're going to have rain now, which will help us because it is something that is needed. So how the same barak, lightning, has two characteristics in it. Either it creates fear in somebody or it creates hope in somebody. So these two, Allah Ta'ala says that this is from the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَيُنَزِّلُ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً, and He sends rain from the sky. فَيُحْيِي بِهِ الْأَرْضَ بَعْدَ مَوْتِهَا, thereby reviving the earth after its death. So that land that has become dry out due to no rain in that, which is land that is dead, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends rain from the heavens, and that becomes one that is revived. إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَعْقِلُونَ. There are certainly ayat in this for those who understand. وَمِنْ آيَاتِ أَن تَقُومَ السَّمَاءُ وَالْأَرْضُ بِأَمْرِهِ ثُمَّ إِذَا دَعَاكُمْ دَعْوَةً مِنَ الْأَرْضِ إِذَا أَنْتُمْ تَخْرُجُونَ. And from his ayat is that the heavens and the earth stand by his command. ثُمَّ إِذَا دَعَاكُمْ دَعْوَةً. So the ayat is the sky and the earth stand, where it is by the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that when He will call for you from earth, min al-ard, from earth, إِذَا أَنْتُمْ تَخْرُجُونَ, you will all immediately emerge. Meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says here that how the skies and the earth stand, meaning they are suspended where they are, by the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and again as I mentioned earlier on, without any form of support it is there. But ثُمَّ إِذَا دَعَاكُمْ, when Allah ta'ala will call for you, meaning on the day of Qiyamah, when the trumpet will be blown, that's when everything will be destroyed. How it is now, so firm and strong that nothing can destroy it, but on the day of Qiyamah it will be destroyed. And not only that, but إِذَا أَنْتُمْ تَخْرُجُونَ, that on the day of Qiyamah, when you will be called from the earth, you'll all immediately emerge at once from the graves to account in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَهُ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ كُلُّ لَهُ قَانِتُونَ. To him belongs whatever is in the heavens and the earth. Everything is subservient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala means that how, as we look at it now, yes, buildings can collapse, and you have places wherein there may be earthquakes and tsunamis and earthquakes occur. But the earth does not become destroyed. And nobody has that fear. You can have fear of buildings being destroyed, but there's no fear that the entire earth is going to be destroyed, because you know that how firm it's created. And it will remain in this manner. Because that is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created the earth. And the manner in which, again, people don't topple over, and neither does the earth become too heavy now because the population is too much. So you need to now reduce the population, because otherwise the earth is not going to be able to bear the weight of human beings, the population. That isn't the case either. No matter how much the population is, still the earth is the earth, and not only that, but the earth is producing so much. There may be those who fear that, look, population is outstripping what? Production. So for that you need to get rid of some population so that we can eat our stomach full. Otherwise, the more the population, the less food we're going to get. But no, since the time of Adam alayhi salatu wasalam till now, nobody's been hungry. Because of that reason, that look, we've got too many people and too many stomachs to feed. So for that reason, the command comes from the heavens that everybody's quota is going to be reduced now, because there's too many new population and the increase in the population. Insan thinks this way, because this is how any person who does not believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is how they think. So for them, their lives is all based upon calculations. Isn't it? Should we have a child or not? Wait, hang on, let me take the calculator out. Isn't it? So you have to do the sums. Sorry dear, not yet. We're not there yet. This is how the sums are, and that my wage and your wage at the moment, how it is, we can't afford a child. Isn't it? And then it's a case of do the sums again. When the sums seem fine, that okay, we're okay now have a child. And then you have the child, and then it's a case of do you have a second child? Again, for the second child, take the calculator out. Do the sums. Again, doesn't match up yet, no, we can't. We have to hang on a little. And now it's a case of, okay, we should just scrape through. So what should we do? Either yes, or is a case of wait a little longer or so. Or wait, there is hope, end of the year. The boss has been promising the promotion. If that comes through, then yes, we can plan the second child. So this is how the world works, isn't it? If for that reason, on that purpose, family planning is not permissible on the basis of a risk, a rosy thinking that you can't and you won't be able to afford it. Because each person, their risk and rosy comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So a Muslim doesn't think that way, that he has to take the calculator out, but there are those who do. And that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching us here that no matter what the population is, the earth will stand this way it is. And this is because this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created it. The sky will not topple as well, it will remain how it is. But when the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes, then no matter how firm the earth is, it will be reduced to nothing at all. Absolutely, totally destroyed. The earth, the heavens, everything will come falling and toppling over when it is the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it is all just held to the qudrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then another qudrat Allah ta'ala mentions is that after each one is now destroyed here, and when every person, in other words, that we will be buried here in this world. We will be buried here in this world. The whole world will be destroyed as well on the day of Qiyamah. prior day of Qiyamah. But then, on the day of Qiyamah, and then when the time of resurrection comes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will call for us, and will call for you from earth. ثم إذا دعاكم دعوة من الأرض إذا أنتم تخرجون, and each one will emerge immediately from the earth as well. This is the great qudrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because وَلَهُ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ, to him belongs whatever is in the heavens and the earth. كُلٌّ لَهُ قَانِتُونَ, everything is subservient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hence the sky remains where it is, the earth remains where it is. Everything is subservient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The sun rises every day from the east, and when the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes, it will rise from the west. Totally opposite direction it will rise from. Why? Because it cannot do its own, that let me take a different route today. It is all through the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And finally Allah Ta'ala mentions that وَهُوَ الَّذِي يَبْدَأُ الْخَلْقَ ثُمَّ يُعِيدُهُ وَهُوَ أَهْوَنُ عَلَيْهِ. With regards to, Allah Ta'ala mentions إِذَا أَنْتُمْ تَخْرُجُونَ, that each one will emerge from the grave. So there are those, the mushrikeen, who would not believe this. That once we die, that's it. How can we come back again? How we will be resurrected? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that هُوَ الَّذِي يَبْدَأُ الْخَلْقَ, it is He who originated and He commenced the creation. ثُمَّ يُعِيدُهُ, hence He will repeat it again, which is وَهُوَ أَهْوَنُ عَلَيْهِ, which will be easier for Him. And for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's easy as it is, irrelevant of whether Allah ta'ala created before or not created before, because Allah ta'ala created everything first hand anyway. So for Allah ta'ala, that's not the case. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions this, that because in terms of the human's experience, Allah ta'ala mentions this. The human beings question here, that once we die and we perish from here, how can we come back again? How can we be resurrected again? So according to the level of understanding and objection of mankind, Allah Ta'ala replies by saying that no, with yourselves your experience is that when you have accomplished something once, the second time is also difficult. You've done it once as it is, so if you manage to do it once, why cannot do it again? So for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do not realize that Allah Ta'ala created you from what? He created you from absolute nothing. So when He created you, not just that He created you once so He can do it again, but He created you from absolute nothing. So when He has done that from something that remains of you, from that for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bring you back again, that is huwa ahwanu alayhi. It is easier for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when human beings generally find it easier to do something they have done before, for Allah ta'ala was the command, then it's going to be the command again. وَلَهُ الْمَثَلُ الْأَعْلَى فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. He is the highest glory in the heavens and the earth. وَهُوَ الْعَزِيزُ الْحَكِيمُ, and He is mighty and wise. In Arabic here Allah Ta'ala mentions وَهُوَ الْمَثَلُ الْأَعْلَى. Mathal means example or similar. And Allah Ta'ala is A'la, the most, which refers to means that there is none equal to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. His mathal does not exist. His mathal, His equal does not exist because He's so A'la. He's so high and that there is none similar to Him. So His is the highest glory in the heavens and the earth. And because of this, Allah Ta'ala says that because of this, He is the one who deserves to be worshipped. And that is the whole point of these verses here. Allah Ta'ala mentioning these signs, that when He is Mathalul A'la. And how is Allah Ta'ala Mathalul A'la? That these few examples that Allah Ta'ala has given us here, bring any example with Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, anything else but Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, or anyone else besides Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, who is able to produce what Allah Ta'ala has mentioned here. These are just few things that Allah Ta'ala mentioned. So if there are others, that will be a different case. And they have a case to be worshipped. But when there is none that can do any of these things besides Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, then it is only He who is worthy of being worshipped. وَهُوَ الْعَزِيزُ الْحَكِيمُ, and He is the mighty, the wise. That in His entire creation of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, two very important things is that one is Allah Ta'ala is Aziz. Allah Ta'ala is mighty. And because Allah Ta'ala is mighty, Allah Ta'ala is able to create such mighty galaxies and planets and the system that we have, great, huge mountains and that. Because Allah Ta'ala is mighty. Because Allah Ta'ala is mighty, then nothing is difficult for Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. And not only that, but Allah Ta'ala is Hakim as well. So whatever Allah Ta'ala has been created for a purpose, it has been created in proportion as well. That is the qudrat of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, His Azizul Hakim. Nothing that Allah Ta'ala has created has been created in vain. Manufacturers may manufacture something, and then after that we find that, look, it was a mistake because it didn't sell. There was no demand for it. People did not really take to it. So they spend so much on it. And so many things are reviewed, and people say, what's the point? We do not understand the purpose of it, the point of it. But whatever Allah Ta'ala has created, there's nothing at all that you can say that we do not know what the purpose, why Allah Ta'ala created it for. Subhanaka, ma khalaqta hadha batila. That whatever Allah, wa ma khalaqta hadha batila, whatever Allah Ta'ala has created, nothing has been created in vain. Why? Because Allah Ta'ala is Hakim as well. Allah Ta'ala is the wise. Allah Ta'ala grant us all the tawfiq to recognize Him, to see these ayahs of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, contemplate over them and draw us close to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. And those who do not have Iman, they contemplate over these and also draw close to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.